In what is a function user defined function. Now let us see what you mean by a recursive function. Okay, so it's a function that calls itself or reoccurs multiple number of times. So let me just write some points here, then we'll see. So a recursive function, a recursive function is a function, we can tell it is a user defined function. So what it does, so it's a user defined function that calls itself during its execution. During its execution, that means whenever it is executing, so it is going to call its own definition again. So now let us do one thing, let's do a recursive function example of a number. So we'll try to find factorial of a number using recursive function. Before I further factorial, so let's see what is a factorial of a number, how it is calculated. So basically the factorial multiplication of 1 to n, fine. So factorial of 5, how do we, that is equals to 5 into, so 5 into 4 into 3 1, so that is what factorial, and the answer will be obviously 120. So we are going to try find this particular answer. So before I proceed, so we have already known that what is the meaning of a function definition. So we'll just define DEF. So I'll write a function that name is factorial because I am going to calculate factorial. So the function name I am giving a parameter that is n, for which we are going to calculate the factorial. Now in factorial there is a condition that if to 0, then what will happen, I'll just return the value of 1. Okay, if factorial of 0 is obviously equals to, in other condition we'll try to calculate. So what we are going to return, so we'll return n multiplied factorial of n minus 1, I'll write here. So if you see what is this factorial of n minus, same name I have defined the function and same name I am using here, and there is a function call is happening here. So n, whatever the value has come while the function call is happening, and then inside factorial n it will call n. While operating we'll see. Before that, let us just try to execute this code. Here the code is executed and now there is output is there because I am not calling the function. So now let's call the function and let me assign a variable. Let's say result is equals to, I'll call the function factorial and I'll try to calculate the factorial of 5. So I am not, we will print the result, whatever result came we'll just print it. Okay, now the answer is coming, exactly the answer should be. Now let us see, by calling this factorial this with 5 parameter, the exactly happening inside this particular function. Let's see. So here I'll write what is happening. Okay, so here I'll write, let's say first what we are calling factorial 5 I have called, right. So when I call factorial of 5, then what will happen, so it will call this function exactly where the to, for the first time the value of n will be equals to 5, fine. Okay, now with value of n equals to 5, what will happen, equals to 0 or not. So the condition is false. If the condition is false, it will go to the else statement. Now in else is going to return n, that means 5 multiplied with factorial 1. So n minus 1 is how much, 4. Okay, so now when 4, this particular thing comes into picture, so this, right, I am calling the function with a parameter value of 4. Now this is, let's say I'll write here step 1 that happens. In step 2, so 5 multiplication is there, we will try to find what is the value of this factorial 4 is being called, so the value of n becomes what? Okay, so here we will write at step 2 the value of n is equals to factorial of 4. Okay, when the value of n is equals to 4, in this case what will be my final? So 5, so here I have to write 5, okay, factorial of, sorry, so 5 into, now what will be the result of this particular function? Factorial of 4 is being called, so at this place I am calling now factorial equals to 4, where n equals to 4 I am calling. N equals to 0 condition is false, so it will come to this line. So what it is going to return? So in this case now it is going to return with factorial of 3, because n minus 1. Now what is the result of factorial of is 4 into factorial of 3. This has been, we got the result in the second step, still it is calling one more function again. So we have to write factorial of 3. Okay, so that will happen in third step, where n value will becomes equals to 3. So that is what of 3. Okay, now when factorial 3 is called, what will happen? This value of n will become 3. If n equals to 0 executed, it will come to the else statement. Now in else statement, what is going to return? N into factorial of n minus 1. N is 3 and multiplied with factorial of n minus 1, that is 2. Is going to return me this particular thing. So here previously 5 multiplied, I am going to write what is the value of factorial of 3 that we have just evaluated. So this much is the factorial of 3. So I will just write it here. Is calling the function factorial of 2. Okay, so it's fourth step. In fourth step, the value of 2 in this case. Okay, so when the value of n equals to 2, then what happens? Now the value here changes to equals to equal condition false, so it will go to the next statement and it will return what it is going to return. So it is going to return n multiplied with factorial of n minus 1. That means factor minus 1 is what? 2 minus 1 is 1 here. Fine. Okay, now what will be the result? So this already this, so I'll just write it here, and what we have evaluated factorial of 2. So the result, fine. Okay, now again it is calling the function with the parameter value equals to 1. So in the of n will becomes to 1. Fine. Okay, now when this factorial of 1 is being called, so what happens here? Value false, it will go to the return statement. Now what it will return? So n value is 1 multiplied of n minus 1, that means it is factorial of, sorry, so this is factorial of 1 minus what will be returned. So in the last step, so this will be there 5 into 4 into 3 into result for factorial of 1. So this is my result for factorial of 1. Now what is happening? It is calling the function is equals to 0. Okay, now we'll see if n value will becomes to 0, then what will happen? If it will just return the value 1, it will not come to this particular line here. So now in the sixth step, what will happen? Equals to 0, and all these things the previously we have evaluated will be there, and value of n into factor, factorial of 0. So the factorial of 0, so this one is going to return 1. So factorial of 0 it comes, so that means it will return 1 only, it will not go to the next 1. Now if we multiply 5 into 4 into 3 into 1, this value is equals to 120. So that is what we have. So this all these steps are going to happen inside the function definition when a recursive function is being used. I hope this is you have understood this. In next video we will see on more example of recursive function. So and we will be doing that. Okay, thank you.